Good evening, dear listener. Tonight we return once again to the forgotten folds of history in search of moments that shaped the world in quiet ways. Whether you're cozy in bed or listening with closed eyes, I'm glad you're spending this peaceful time here. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from and what time it is in your part of the world. Are you just waking up or about to drift off with the past whispering in your ear? If you're enjoying these calm passages through time, please do subscribe. There are many more nights like this ahead. The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the earliest known works of literature, originating from ancient Mesopotamia, and it has remained a significant cultural and philosophical text for thousands of years. The story centers on the journey of Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, who is portrayed as two-thirds divine and one-third human. Although he possesses extraordinary strength and charisma, Gilgamesh is initially a flawed ruler, using his power selfishly and causing suffering among his people. The epic traces Gilgamesh's transformation from a tyrant to a wise and reflective leader. Central to his transformation is his deep bond with Enkidu, a wild man created by the gods to humble Gilgamesh. The friendship between the two characters becomes the emotional core of the epic, and through their shared adventures and eventual loss, Gilgamesh is forced to confront his own mortality. Gilgamesh's quest for immortality, sparked by the death of Enkidu, drives him on a journey that ultimately reveals profound philosophical truths about life, death, and the human desire for meaning. Through his journey, the Epic of Gilgamesh explores universal themes of mortality, legacy, friendship, divine justice, and the limits of human power. As Gilgamesh grapples with his fear of death and his search for immortality, the epic offers timeless insights into the human condition, making it as relevant today as it was in ancient Mesopotamia. This analysis delves into the key themes, character dynamics, and existential questions raised by the Epic of Gilgamesh, reflecting on its enduring cultural, philosophical, and literary significance. Let's get started. The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the oldest and most significant works of literature known to humanity. Originating in ancient Mesopotamia, it has been preserved on clay tablets and was written in the Akkadian language. The story revolves around Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, a city in the Sumerian civilization, and his adventures as he faces challenges, loss, and the profound questions of human mortality. Gilgamesh, who is described as being two-thirds divine and one-third human, is initially portrayed as a young, strong, and confident ruler. Despite his extraordinary abilities, Gilgamesh's reign is marked by excessive pride and cruelty. His subjects suffer from his tyrannical ways, and even the gods grow weary of his behavior. His arrogance is so great that the gods decide to create a rival who could match him in strength and power, someone who could humble him and provide him with a challenge. To this end, they create Enkidu, a wild man who roams the steppes, living with animals and untouched by civilization. Enkidu's creation serves as a direct response to Gilgamesh's pride, and when he is introduced to human society through Shamhat, a temple prostitute, Enkidu begins to transition from his wild life to one of humanity. He is brought to Uruk, where he and Gilgamesh confront one another in a test of strength. Their battle is fierce, but after a long struggle, the two men recognize each other's equal power and form a deep bond of friendship. This marks the beginning of their journey together, and from this moment on, the epic shifts from conflict to cooperation. Gilgamesh and Enkidu, now united in their friendship, decide to embark on a series of heroic quests, seeking out new challenges and opportunities for glory. One of their most famous adventures is their journey to the cedar forest, where they seek to defeat Humbaba, a terrifying giant who guards the sacred trees of the gods. Humbaba is a formidable opponent, but with the aid of Shamash, the sun god, Gilgamesh and Enkidu manage to defeat him after a brutal battle. The gods, displeased by their transgression in killing Humbaba, become angry and punish the heroes for their audacity. However, their victory brings them great fame, and their bond strengthens as they continue to share in the spoils of their triumphs. But their joy is short-lived, as their actions begin to incite the wrath of the gods. In retaliation for their transgressions, the gods send the Bull of Heaven to Uruk, intending to punish Gilgamesh for his arrogance. The Bull of Heaven wreaks havoc upon the city, but once again, Gilgamesh and Enkidu manage to defeat it in a dramatic confrontation. However, this victory comes at a high cost. Enkidu, who had been the steadfast companion to Gilgamesh, is cursed by the gods as punishment for killing the Bull of Heaven. Enkidu's death serves as the turning point in the story, as it forces Gilgamesh to confront the reality of human mortality. Stricken with grief, Gilgamesh cannot accept the death of his friend and is filled with fear over his own inevitable demise. In the wake of Enkidu's death, Gilgamesh embarks on a journey in search of immortality, hoping to find a way to escape death's grasp and achieve eternal life. Gilgamesh's quest for immortality leads him to seek out Utnapishtim, a sage who was granted eternal life by the gods after surviving a great flood that had been sent to destroy humanity. The journey is long and treacherous, and Gilgamesh faces many obstacles along the way. He crosses the dangerous mountains where the scorpion men guard the entrance to the realm of the gods, and he ventures through the dark tunnel that no mortal has ever passed through. Along the way, he reflects on the nature of life and death, and the futility of trying to escape the inevitable. Finally, after overcoming numerous trials, Gilgamesh reaches Utnapishtim, who tells him the story of the great flood that wiped out humanity. This flood narrative is strikingly similar to the story of Noah in the Bible, where Utnapishtim, along with his family, was spared from the flood after building an ark. Utnapishtim tells Gilgamesh that immortality is a gift reserved for the gods, and that no mortal can achieve eternal life. However, Utnapishtim offers Gilgamesh a final test. If he can stay awake for 6 days and 7 nights, he will be granted the secret of immortality. Gilgamesh, exhausted from his long journey, fails the test and falls asleep almost immediately. When he awakens, he realizes that immortality is not meant for humans and that he must accept the reality of death. Despite his failure, Gilgamesh returns to Uruk with a renewed sense of understanding and acceptance. He begins to appreciate the value of his life, not in terms of eternal fame or immortality, but in the legacy he leaves behind. As he surveys the walls of Uruk which he had built during his reign, he recognizes that his true immortality lies in the accomplishments he has made and the people he has influenced. The walls of Uruk stand as a testament to his greatness, and through them his name will live on long after his death. Gilgamesh returns to his people as a wiser and more compassionate ruler, and his journey becomes a profound meditation on the nature of life, death, and the human condition. The epic's final message is that while death is inevitable, humans can still achieve a kind of immortality through their deeds, their legacy, and the connections they form with others. Through Gilgamesh's experiences, the epic explores themes of friendship, love, loss, and the search for meaning in life. It reflects on the human desire for immortality and the acceptance of mortality as an inescapable part of existence. The Epic of Gilgamesh remains one of the most influential works of ancient literature, offering valuable insights into the worldview of early Mesopotamian civilization and continuing to resonate with modern audiences. Its enduring themes of mortality, legacy, and human connection make it a timeless exploration of the human experience. In conclusion, The Epic of Gilgamesh is a profound and timeless narrative that explores the most fundamental aspects of the human condition. It delves into the themes of death, friendship, the pursuit of immortality, and the legacy one leaves behind. Through the character of Gilgamesh, the epic shows that true immortality is not found in escaping death, but in living a life of meaning, compassion, and accomplishment. It is a tale of self-discovery and personal growth, as Gilgamesh learns that the key to a meaningful existence lies in accepting the inevitability of death and finding ways to contribute positively to the world around him. The epic's lasting impact on literature and its relevance to modern readers underscores its universal appeal and significance in the history of storytelling. The story of Gilgamesh continues to inspire readers, philosophers, and writers across cultures and centuries, reminding us all of the shared human experience that transcends time and place.
Gilgamesh's transformation throughout the epic is remarkable, as it reflects the evolution of his character from a reckless and selfish ruler to a wiser and more compassionate king. Initially, Gilgamesh is driven by his own glory and desires, seeking power and admiration from his people without considering their well-being. This is evident in the opening scenes of the epic, where Gilgamesh exploits his position as king, taking what he desires without any regard for the consequences of his actions. His tyranny is so overwhelming that the people of Uruk cry out to the gods for relief, and this marks the beginning of his journey towards self-awareness. When the gods create Enkidu, a counterpart to Gilgamesh, they do so with the intention of bringing balance to the king's arrogance. Enkidu's wild nature contrasts sharply with Gilgamesh's city-bred sophistication, but when the two meet, their battle turns into a friendship, and it is through Enkidu that Gilgamesh begins to learn the value of companionship and humility. Enkidu's influence is profound. Through their shared adventures, Gilgamesh discovers that there is more to life than individual glory, and that true fulfillment comes from forming deep bonds with others. The loss of Enkidu, however, becomes a catalyst for Gilgamesh's greatest personal growth. Enkidu's death, caused by the wrath of the gods as a punishment for the hero's defiance, plunges Gilgamesh into a deep and overwhelming grief. The intense sorrow he feels is not just for the loss of his friend, but also for the realization that death is an inescapable part of life. Prior to Enkidu's death, Gilgamesh had been obsessed with seeking glory and immortality, but he is now confronted with the ultimate truth. No matter how strong or powerful one may be, death comes for everyone. This realization is pivotal in Gilgamesh's journey. Unable to cope with the loss, he sets out on a quest to find Utnapishtim, the only mortal granted immortality by the gods. His journey is filled with dangers, testing not only his physical strength, but also his emotional and psychological resilience. Along the way, Gilgamesh faces various trials that force him to confront his own mortality, from crossing the treacherous mountains guarded by the scorpion men to navigating the dark and perilous tunnel that leads him to the gods' realm. These challenges symbolize the inner turmoil Gilgamesh feels as he searches for answers to the existential questions that have arisen since Enkidu's death. Utnapishtim's story of the Great Flood serves as a significant turning point in the narrative. The flood myth told by Utnapishtim closely mirrors the biblical story of Noah's Ark, where a great flood is sent by the gods to cleanse the world of corruption. Utnapishtim and his family are spared from this destruction due to his righteousness, and after surviving the flood, he is granted immortality. Utnapishtim's tale serves as a reminder to Gilgamesh that the gods are beyond human comprehension and that immortality is a gift they reserve for the divine. Utnapishtim explains that no human being can achieve eternal life, and the quest for immortality is ultimately futile.
In offering Gilgamesh the test of staying awake for 6 days and 7 nights, Utnapishtim is testing not only his resolve, but also his ability to accept the limitations of human existence. However, Gilgamesh fails the test, falling asleep almost immediately after being entrusted with the challenge. This failure is symbolic of the inevitability of human limitations. No matter how determined or powerful one might be, there are some things that are beyond our control. Upon waking up, Gilgamesh is confronted with the bitter truth that immortality is not attainable for mortals. He is forced to accept the reality of his own human nature, and in doing so, he begins to reflect on the meaning of his life. Gilgamesh's return to Uruk marks the final phase of his transformation. He comes back to his city not as the arrogant and self-centered ruler who once sought only personal glory, but as a wise and reflective king who understands the fleeting nature of life. He recognizes that while he cannot escape death, his deeds and the legacy he leaves behind are what will endure. As he gazes upon the walls of Uruk that he built with his own hands and symbolic of his rule, they will stand as a testament to his achievements for future generations. This realization brings Gilgamesh a sense of peace, as he now understands that it is not immortality he must seek, but rather the creation of a meaningful life that leaves a lasting impact. The Epic of Gilgamesh is a profound exploration of human existence, tackling themes that are still relevant today: the inevitability of death, the importance of friendship, the search for meaning, and the desire to leave a legacy. Through Gilgamesh's experiences, the epic highlights the complexity of the human condition and the universal struggles faced by all people. The story emphasizes the need for self-awareness, humility, and acceptance of one's limitations, particularly in the face of death. Gilgamesh's journey is one of self-discovery, as he moves from being a proud, self-centered king to a wiser, more compassionate ruler who understands the value of life in its impermanence. The epic also reflects the importance of relationships, as Gilgamesh's bond with Enkidu plays a crucial role in shaping his transformation. Through his friendship with Enkidu, Gilgamesh learns that true fulfillment comes not from power or immortality, but from the connections one forms with others. The loss of Enkidu forces Gilgamesh to confront the fragility of life and the inevitability of death, which ultimately leads him on a journey of acceptance and self-realization. In addition to its exploration of existential themes, the Epic of Gilgamesh also provides valuable insights into ancient Mesopotamian culture and beliefs. The gods in the epic are portrayed as powerful and capricious beings who shape the fate of mortals, yet they are not beyond reproach. The story reflects the Mesopotamian worldview, where human beings were seen as subject to the whims of the gods, and where the pursuit of immortality was often viewed as an impossible or futile endeavor. The epic also emphasizes the importance of legacy and reputation, which were highly valued in Mesopotamian society. The focus on Gilgamesh's accomplishments, particularly the construction of the city walls, underscores the significance of tangible achievements in securing one's place in history. Ultimately, the Epic of Gilgamesh endures as a timeless narrative that continues to resonate with readers across cultures and generations. Its exploration of universal themes, its rich characterization, and its profound reflections on the human experience make it an enduring work of literature. The epic serves as a powerful reminder that while life is fleeting and death is inevitable, the way in which one lives, through relationships, achievements, and the legacy one leaves behind, can offer a form of immortality that transcends time. Through Gilgamesh's journey, readers are encouraged to confront their own mortality, embrace the present, and seek meaning in the fleeting moments that make up our lives.
The quest for immortality. After the death of Enkidu, the loss profoundly impacts Gilgamesh, driving him into a state of desperation and fear of his own mortality. Enkidu's death is a turning point as it confronts Gilgamesh with the unavoidable reality that death is a fate that even the mightiest cannot escape. For Gilgamesh, this was a truth too unbearable to accept. He could no longer ignore the fact that death is inevitable and that no amount of strength, glory, or power could protect him from it. This realization instills in Gilgamesh an insatiable desire for immortality, a desire that transcends his previous ambitions for fame and domination. Fueled by this fear, Gilgamesh embarks on a quest that takes him beyond the borders of Uruk, seeking to find the secret of immortality. His journey becomes one of deep introspection as he tries to discover not just how to avoid death, but also what it means to live a meaningful life. Gilgamesh's quest is an exploration of the human condition and the limitations of human existence. His search for immortality brings him face to face with divine beings, testing his resolve and forcing him to confront his own weaknesses. In his search, Gilgamesh encounters various figures who challenge him and provide him with insights about life and death. One of the most significant of these encounters occurs when he meets the immortal Utnapishtim, who had survived a great flood that wiped out much of humanity. Utnapishtim's story of survival, alongside his wife, offers Gilgamesh the possibility of immortality, but only under very specific circumstances. Utnapishtim tells Gilgamesh that immortality is not something meant for mortals. It is a gift the gods bestow on a select few. Gilgamesh, seeking any way to avoid death, listens intently to Utnapishtim's tale. Utnapishtim recounts how he was chosen by the gods to survive the flood, a divine punishment sent to cleanse the earth. The gods had decided that humanity was too corrupt and wicked to continue, and so they decided to flood the world. However, Utnapishtim and his family were spared because of his piety and righteousness. He built a great boat, taking his family and animals with him to survive the deluge. This flood myth mirrors the story of Noah's Ark in the Bible, and it speaks to the cyclical nature of destruction and rebirth in human history. When Gilgamesh hears this story, he realizes that the gods, although powerful, are not entirely just or predictable. They destroy and create at their will, and their actions are often beyond human understanding. Utnapishtim reveals that the gods' decision to grant immortality was based on divine favor, not on any qualities that Gilgamesh could attain. Despite Gilgamesh's bravery and wisdom, immortality is beyond his reach. Utnapishtim offers Gilgamesh a test. If he can stay awake for 6 days and 7 nights, he will be granted the secret of immortality. Gilgamesh, eager to prove his worth, accepts the challenge. However, his human limitations quickly take hold, and he falls asleep almost immediately. When Gilgamesh awakens, he realizes that immortality was never truly meant for him. His failure to stay awake serves as a symbolic reminder of the inescapable nature of human vulnerability. No matter how much one seeks to defy death, it is something that cannot be avoided. The failure teaches Gilgamesh the lesson that immortality, even if it exists, is not something mortals can attain. This is a humbling moment for Gilgamesh, as he must finally accept his place in the grand scheme of life and death. The return to Uruk and acceptance of mortality. After his failure and the acceptance of his mortality, Gilgamesh begins his journey back to Uruk. The return home marks the end of his search for immortality and the beginning of a new chapter in his life. As he makes his way back, Gilgamesh reflects on the lessons he has learned during his travels. He understands now that life is fleeting and that he must make the most of the time he has. He no longer seeks fame or glory, but rather he seeks to live in a way that is meaningful to himself and to his people. Gilgamesh's return to Uruk is a moment of great significance. He returns not as the king who once sought only to conquer and amass power, but as a ruler who has gained wisdom through loss and experience. He now understands the importance of the people he governs and the legacy he will leave behind. As he surveys the city of Uruk, he is filled with a sense of pride in the great walls he built, a tangible representation of his accomplishments. While his journey has not led to immortality, it has allowed him to achieve something enduring, the creation of something that will outlast him. The walls of Uruk become a symbol of Gilgamesh's legacy, representing not just his physical achievements, but the deeper meaning of his life. Through his experiences, Gilgamesh learns that immortality is not found in escaping death, but in living a life that leaves a lasting mark on the world. His accomplishments, his relationships, and his growth as a person will endure long after his death. The people of Uruk will remember him, and his story will be passed down through generations. In the final lines of the epic, Gilgamesh's story is framed not as a quest for immortality, but as a meditation on the human condition. Through his trials, Gilgamesh has come to understand that death is inevitable, but that the way one lives, through love, friendship, and deeds of significance, gives life meaning. He is no longer the arrogant ruler who sought only to escape death, but a wise king who understands the value of accepting mortality and making the most of the time one has. The epic ends on a note of reflection, as Gilgamesh has come to terms with his own limitations, and in doing so, he achieves a deeper understanding of life. Themes of friendship and the human condition. One of the central themes of the Epic of Gilgamesh is the exploration of friendship. The bond between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is transformative not just for the characters, but for the story as a whole. Their friendship is a source of strength and growth for both characters, and it is through their relationship that Gilgamesh undergoes much of his personal development. Enkidu's death, then, becomes not only the catalyst for Gilgamesh's search for immortality, but also a poignant reminder of the preciousness of life and the fleeting nature of human relationships. The epic also addresses the human desire for immortality and the ways in which people grapple with their own mortality. Throughout the story, Gilgamesh struggles with the idea of death and seeks to avoid it through his actions. His quest for immortality is driven by fear, grief, and the desire to transcend his human limitations. However, the ultimate message of the epic is that immortality is beyond human reach. The gods, who are portrayed as powerful yet indifferent, reserve immortality for themselves, leaving humans to face the reality of death. Yet, despite this, the epic suggests that the pursuit of immortality can lead to valuable lessons and personal growth. By accepting his mortality, Gilgamesh ultimately becomes a wiser, more compassionate ruler, one who understands the importance of living a meaningful life. In conclusion, the Epic of Gilgamesh is a profound exploration of the human experience, offering timeless insights into themes of friendship, mortality, legacy, and the search for meaning in life. Through Gilgamesh's journey, readers are reminded that while death is inevitable, the way one lives and the relationships one forms can provide a form of immortality that transcends time.
Symbolism and key themes in the Epic of Gilgamesh. 1. The search for immortality. One of the most significant themes in the Epic of Gilgamesh is the search for immortality. This search is not merely about avoiding death, but is a reflection of the human desire to transcend our limitations and leave a lasting legacy. Gilgamesh's quest shows that immortality, in the form of physical life beyond death, is unattainable for mortals. However, his eventual realization that immortality comes from one's deeds, relationships, and the lasting impact they leave on the world offers a new perspective on what it means to live a meaningful life. The story also suggests that the quest for immortality is part of the human condition, the need to leave behind something that proves we existed, that we mattered. This universal desire is explored through Gilgamesh's grief over Enkidu's death and his subsequent search for Utnapishtim, hoping to learn the secret of eternal life. The flood myth and Utnapishtim's immortality emphasize that immortality is a divine gift, not a mortal one, further reinforcing the idea that humans must come to terms with their mortality. 2. The role of friendship. The relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is one of the central elements of the epic. Their friendship is not just a bond between two individuals, but a transformative force in the life of Gilgamesh. In many ways, Enkidu serves as a mirror to Gilgamesh, showing him that true strength comes not just from physical prowess, but from emotional and moral integrity. Through their friendship, Gilgamesh learns the value of companionship, loyalty, and selflessness. Enkidu's death, which marks a pivotal moment in the epic, brings Gilgamesh face to face with his own vulnerability. It is through his grief and mourning that Gilgamesh embarks on his quest for immortality. Their bond also highlights a theme of balance. Gilgamesh's initial arrogance and abuse of power is tempered by the empathy and humility that his friendship with Enkidu instills in him. Enkidu is the counterbalance to Gilgamesh's overbearing rule, and their complementary relationship makes them stronger together. This reinforces the idea that personal growth often occurs in relationships and through shared experiences. 3. Mortality and the acceptance of death. In the end, Gilgamesh's journey leads him to the acceptance of mortality. After his failure to obtain immortality from Utnapishtim, Gilgamesh returns to Uruk, acknowledging that immortality is a divine privilege, not a human one. The realization that death is inevitable and that human life is finite brings Gilgamesh peace. His journey reflects the universal human struggle with mortality, and his eventual acceptance of it highlights a critical turning point in his character development. His wisdom grows as he learns to value his fleeting existence rather than seeking to escape it. This theme of mortality is not just about physical death, but also about the passage of time and the legacy we leave behind. Gilgamesh realizes that although he cannot escape death, his deeds, his work, and the relationships he nurtures will outlast him, thus giving his life meaning. This insight is particularly poignant when he looks at the walls of Uruk, which will stand as a monument to his reign and achievements. Thus, the epic suggests that immortality, if it exists at all, lies not in the avoidance of death, but in the meaningful acts we perform during our lifetimes. 4. The role of the gods and divine justice. The gods in the Epic of Gilgamesh are portrayed as powerful but often unpredictable beings. They play an active role in shaping the fate of the characters, and their actions reflect the Mesopotamian worldview, where humans were subject to the whims of the divine. The gods create Enkidu to challenge Gilgamesh's arrogance, yet they also punish him for his victories, demonstrating their dual role as both protectors and adversaries to mortals. The sending of the Bull of Heaven and Enkidu's eventual death are forms of divine retribution for the hero's actions. The gods' behavior raises questions about divine justice and the nature of fate. While the gods are seen as all-powerful, their motives are not always clear, and their actions often seem arbitrary. In this context, the Epic of Gilgamesh explores the idea that humans are powerless in the face of divine will. Despite their heroic deeds, Gilgamesh and Enkidu cannot escape the influence of the gods. This creates a sense of fatalism, where the gods dictate the course of human lives, leaving humans to navigate their destinies as best they can. Influence on later literature. The Epic of Gilgamesh has had a profound impact on later literature and mythology. Many elements of the story have been mirrored in other cultural myths, including the biblical flood story. The tale of Utnapishtim's survival of a great flood and his granting of immortality to his family is strikingly similar to the story of Noah and the Ark in the Bible. This parallel suggests that the Epic of Gilgamesh not only influenced later Mesopotamian texts, but also contributed to broader cultural narratives about the flood myth and the search for immortality. The themes of friendship, mortality, and the quest for meaning found in the Epic of Gilgamesh resonate with later works of literature, including Greek tragedies, medieval literature, and modern existentialist thought. The tension between human ambition and the inevitability of death is a central theme in works such as Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, where heroes also confront their mortality, but often through the lens of personal glory. Similarly, modern existentialist writers like Albert Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre have explored similar themes of meaning and absurdity in human life, drawing on concepts found in Gilgamesh's quest. The epic's enduring relevance. Today, the Epic of Gilgamesh remains relevant because it touches on fundamental human concerns that are still pertinent. In a world where the search for immortality continues, whether through technology, fame, or the quest for eternal life, Gilgamesh's journey serves as a reminder that death is a natural part of the human experience. The lessons he learns about friendship, mortality, and the value of a meaningful life are timeless and continue to resonate with modern readers. Moreover, the epic's exploration of the gods and their influence on human affairs speaks to the ongoing relationship between humanity and the divine, whether through religion, fate, or personal belief. The story's reflection on the nature of justice, suffering, and divine will remains relevant to contemporary philosophical and ethical discussions.
Symbolism and key themes in the Epic of Gilgamesh. The Epic of Gilgamesh explores humanity's struggle with mortality, friendship, and the search for meaning in life. The central figure, Gilgamesh, the two-thirds divine, one-third human king of Uruk, begins as a proud, arrogant ruler, oppressing his people. In response to his tyranny, the gods create Enkidu, a wild man, to humble him. After a battle, Gilgamesh and Enkidu form a deep friendship, and together they embark on heroic adventures such as defeating Humbaba, the guardian of the cedar forest, and slaying the bull of heaven. However, their defiance angers the gods, who punish Enkidu, causing his death. This loss forces Gilgamesh to confront his own mortality and drives him to seek immortality. He journeys to find Utnapishtim, a man who survived a great flood and was granted immortality. Utnapishtim recounts the flood, similar to the biblical Noah's Ark, and reveals that immortality is reserved for the gods, not mortals. Gilgamesh undergoes a test to stay awake for 6 days and nights, but fails, symbolizing the inevitability of human mortality. Returning to Uruk, Gilgamesh reflects on his journey and the legacy he will leave behind, realizing that immortality is not found in escaping death, but in the lasting impact of one's actions and relationships. The epic highlights the theme of friendship through the bond between Gilgamesh and Enkidu, emphasizing how relationships shape personal growth. Gilgamesh's transformation from a tyrant to a wise ruler reflects the universal human condition, the acceptance of mortality.
The gods play a significant role in the story, illustrating the arbitrary nature of divine justice and the futility of trying to escape their will. The gods are powerful, yet unpredictable, shaping the fate of mortals through their actions. The epic also delves into the desire for immortality, showing that it is not attainable through physical means, but through the legacy one leaves. The relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu underscores the importance of companionship, as their shared adventures allow Gilgamesh to grow emotionally and morally. Enkidu's death marks a pivotal moment, prompting Gilgamesh's search for immortality, which ultimately leads to his realization that immortality lies not in eternal life, but in living a life of significance. The acceptance of death becomes Gilgamesh's most important lesson, demonstrating that while life is fleeting, the deeds and relationships formed during one's lifetime create a lasting legacy. The gods' role in the epic reflects their control over the fates of mortals, reinforcing the theme that humans are subject to divine will. The epic's legacy is evident in its influence on later literature, especially the flood myth, which parallels the biblical story of Noah. The themes of mortality, immortality, and legacy continue to resonate across cultures and time periods, influencing works of literature from the Iliad to modern existentialism. The Epic of Gilgamesh remains a timeless narrative, offering insights into human nature and our desire for meaning in a world bound by death. Its enduring relevance lies in its exploration of universal themes that transcend time and place, from the search for immortality to the acceptance of death and the importance of meaningful relationships.
The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the oldest known works of literature, originating from ancient Mesopotamia. Its story revolves around Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, who is 2/3 divine and 1/3 human. Despite his great strength and power, Gilgamesh begins his journey as a tyrannical leader. His arrogance and cruelty toward his people prompt the gods to create Enkidu, a wild man who lives with animals, to challenge Gilgamesh and humble him. Initially, Enkidu is a force of nature, representing the untamed aspects of humanity, while Gilgamesh is the epitome of civilization and power. The two men initially clash, but after an intense struggle, they recognize each other's strength and form a deep and lasting friendship. This bond becomes the emotional core of the epic and sets the stage for their shared adventures. Together, they embark on various heroic quests, including the defeat of Humbaba, the monstrous guardian of the cedar forest, and the killing of the bull of heaven, which is sent by the goddess Ishtar in retaliation for Gilgamesh's rejection of her advances. Their victories bring them fame and recognition, but they also incur the wrath of the gods, who view their actions as defiance. As a result, Enkidu is struck down by the gods, leading to his death, which serves as a pivotal moment in the epic. Enkidu's death plunges Gilgamesh into profound grief, and this loss becomes the catalyst for his transformation. The realization that death is inevitable and inescapable overwhelms Gilgamesh. For the first time, he contemplates his own mortality and the fragility of human life. His desire for immortality grows out of this fear and grief. He sets out on a quest to find Utnapishtim, an immortal sage who survived a great flood and was granted eternal life by the gods. Gilgamesh hopes that Utnapishtim can reveal to him the secret of immortality, thereby allowing him to avoid the same fate that befell Enkidu. The flood story that Utnapishtim recounts mirrors the biblical tale of Noah's Ark, and it serves as a reminder that immortality is a divine privilege, not a human one. Utnapishtim explains to Gilgamesh that the gods sent the flood to wipe out humanity due to its corruption, but Utnapishtim, chosen by the gods for his righteousness, was spared.
he was granted immortality as a reward for his survival and his devotion to the gods. However, Utnapishtim warns Gilgamesh that immortality is not meant for mortals, and that even the gods themselves are subject to death. Despite this, Utnapishtim offers Gilgamesh a challenge. If he can stay awake for 6 days and 7 nights, he will be granted the secret of immortality. Gilgamesh, eager to prove his worth, accepts the challenge. However, his human limitations quickly become evident. He falls asleep almost immediately, symbolizing the inevitability of human mortality. When he wakes up, he realizes that immortality is beyond his reach. This failure marks the end of his search for eternal life, but it also marks the beginning of his deeper understanding of life itself. Upon his return to Uruk, Gilgamesh reflects on the lessons he has learned from his journey. He gazes upon the walls of the city, which he himself built, and he recognizes that his true immortality is not in escaping death, but in the legacy he leaves behind. The walls of Uruk, which will stand for generations, serve as a testament to his greatness. In this moment, Gilgamesh accepts the limitations of human existence. He understands that while death is inevitable, the impact one has on the world through one's actions and relationships can provide a kind of immortality. Gilgamesh's journey, in the end, becomes not just a quest for eternal life, but a reflection on how to live meaningfully in the face of death. The epic teaches that immortality is not necessarily about living forever, but about making a lasting impact on the world around you. The theme of mortality is central to the Epic of Gilgamesh, and it is explored through Gilgamesh's experiences, particularly in his relationship with Enkidu. The bond between Gilgamesh and Enkidu represents the deep emotional and moral transformation that occurs when two individuals connect on a meaningful level. Gilgamesh, initially a self-centered and ruthless ruler, undergoes a profound change through his friendship with Enkidu. Enkidu, who is initially wild and untamed, becomes a part of Gilgamesh's world, and together they form a partnership based on mutual respect and admiration. This companionship is the source of Gilgamesh's growth and development, as it challenges his selfishness and teaches him the value of friendship, loyalty, and sacrifice. Enkidu's death serves as a tragic reminder of the fleeting nature of life and the inevitable loss that all humans must face. However, it is also through this loss that Gilgamesh embarks on his journey of self-discovery, seeking not immortality but understanding. The gods in the Epic of Gilgamesh also play a crucial role in shaping the story's themes. They are not distant or abstract entities, but active, often capricious forces that influence the lives of mortals. While the gods in other mythologies are often portrayed as beings with a sense of justice or morality, the gods in Gilgamesh's world are unpredictable and operate on their own terms. The gods create Enkidu to challenge Gilgamesh, but they also punish him for his victories, sending the Bull of Heaven to Uruk in retribution for Gilgamesh's rejection of her advances. Their victories bring them fame and recognition, but they also incur the wrath of the gods, who view their actions as defiance. As a result, Enkidu is struck down by the gods, leading to his death, which serves as a pivotal moment in the epic. Another significant theme in the epic is the idea of legacy. Throughout his journey, Gilgamesh is concerned about how he will be remembered after his death. His desire for immortality is not just about escaping death, but about leaving behind a legacy that will endure through the ages. This theme is symbolized by the walls of Uruk, which represent Gilgamesh's greatest accomplishment. These walls stand as a testament to his power, his strength, and his vision. As Gilgamesh reflects on his legacy, he realizes that the true measure of a life well lived is not in the pursuit of eternal life, but in the impact one has on the world. The walls of Uruk will endure long after he is gone, and through them his name will be remembered. This realization marks the end of Gilgamesh's search for immortality and the beginning of his acceptance of his place in the world. It is through his actions, his deeds, and his relationships that he will achieve a form of immortality. The theme of friendship is also explored in depth in the Epic of Gilgamesh, particularly in the relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu. Their friendship is not just a personal bond, but a transformative force that shapes Gilgamesh's character. Enkidu, who was initially wild and untamed, becomes a part of Gilgamesh's world, and together they form a partnership based on mutual respect and admiration. This companionship is the source of Gilgamesh's growth and development, as it challenges his selfishness and teaches him the value of friendship, loyalty, and sacrifice. Enkidu's death serves as a tragic reminder of the fleeting nature of life and the inevitable loss that all humans must face. However, it is also through this loss that Gilgamesh embarks on his journey of self-discovery, seeking not immortality but understanding. In conclusion, the Epic of Gilgamesh is a profound exploration of the human condition, addressing themes of mortality, immortality, friendship, and the search for meaning in life. Through Gilgamesh's journey, the epic reflects the universal human struggle with death and the desire to leave a lasting impact. It teaches that immortality is not found in escaping death, but in living a life that leaves a positive impact on others. Gilgamesh's transformation from a self-centered and tyrannical ruler to a wise and reflective king highlights the importance of personal growth and the acceptance of mortality. The epic remains a timeless work of literature, offering valuable insights into the nature of life, death, and the human experience. Its enduring relevance continues to inspire readers and thinkers, making it one of the most significant texts in world literature.
The Epic of Gilgamesh, a tale of mortality, friendship, and immortality. The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the oldest known works of literature, originating from ancient Mesopotamia. The story follows Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, who is 2/3 divine and 1/3 human. Despite his immense strength and power, Gilgamesh begins as a tyrannical ruler, oppressing his people. In response to his cruelty, the gods create Enkidu, a wild man living with animals, to challenge him. When Enkidu is introduced to human civilization, he and Gilgamesh initially clash in a battle, but soon form a deep bond of friendship. This friendship is the emotional core of the epic, as the two embark on heroic quests, including the defeat of Humbaba, the guardian of the cedar forest, and the killing of the bull of heaven sent by the goddess Ishtar after Gilgamesh rejects her advances. Their victories bring them fame, but anger the gods, who punish Enkidu by causing his death. This loss leads Gilgamesh to confront his own mortality. Stricken with grief, Gilgamesh sets out to find Utnapishtim, a sage granted immortality by the gods after surviving a great flood, hoping to learn the secret of eternal life. Utnapishtim tells Gilgamesh that immortality is a gift for the gods and not for mortals. He recounts the story of the flood, which mirrors the biblical tale of Noah's Ark. After hearing the flood story, Utnapishtim challenges Gilgamesh to stay awake for 6 days and 7 nights. Gilgamesh fails the test, symbolizing the limitations of human mortality. His failure serves as a humbling reminder that immortality is beyond human reach. Returning to Uruk, Gilgamesh reflects on the lessons he has learned, realizing that immortality is not achieved by escaping death, but through leaving behind a meaningful legacy. As he gazes upon the walls of Uruk, which he built, he understands that his true immortality lies not in physical life, but in the lasting impact of his deeds. The theme of mortality is central to the epic, and Gilgamesh's journey reflects the universal human struggle with death. Initially seeking eternal life to escape the inevitability of death,
Gilgamesh learns that his legacy, shaped by his actions and relationships, provides a form of immortality. The bond between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is crucial to the story, as their friendship teaches Gilgamesh the value of companionship, selflessness, and emotional growth. Enkidu's death marks a turning point in the story, as it forces Gilgamesh to confront the fleeting nature of life and the inevitability of loss. The epic ultimately teaches that while immortality may be beyond our reach, we can still achieve a form of immortality through the lives we touch and the deeds we perform. In the end, Gilgamesh returns to Uruk, not as the arrogant king who sought only glory, but as a wise ruler who understands the importance of leaving a lasting legacy. He accepts the inevitability of death, but finds meaning in his contributions to his city and people. The walls of Uruk stand as a testament to his greatness, and through them his name will endure. The Epic of Gilgamesh explores themes of mortality, immortality, friendship, and legacy, offering a timeless meditation on the human experience. It teaches that immortality is not found in escaping death, but in the meaningful relationships and deeds we leave behind. The relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is crucial to the story, as their deep connections lead to personal growth and understanding. Enkidu's death marks a turning point in the story, as it forces Gilgamesh to confront the fleeting nature of life and the inevitability of loss. The epic ultimately teaches that while immortality may be beyond our reach, we can still achieve a form of immortality through the lives we touch and the deeds we perform. In the end, Gilgamesh returns to Uruk, not as the arrogant king who sought only glory, but as a wise ruler who understands the importance of leaving a lasting legacy. He accepts the inevitability of death, but finds meaning in his contributions to his city and people. The walls of Uruk stand as a testament to his greatness, and through them his name will endure. The Epic of Gilgamesh explores themes of mortality, immortality, friendship, and legacy, offering a timeless meditation on the human experience. It teaches that immortality is not found in escaping death, but in the meaningful relationships and deeds we leave behind. The relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is crucial to the story, as their deep connections lead to personal growth and understanding. Enkidu's death marks a turning point in the story, as it forces Gilgamesh to confront the fleeting nature of life and the inevitability of loss. The epic ultimately teaches that while immortality may be beyond our reach, we can still achieve a form of immortality through the lives we touch and the deeds we perform. In the end, Gilgamesh returns to Uruk, not as the arrogant king who sought only glory, but as a wise ruler who understands the importance of leaving a lasting legacy. He accepts the inevitability of death, but finds meaning in his contributions to his city and people. The walls of Uruk stand as a testament to his greatness, and through them his name will endure. The Epic of Gilgamesh explores themes of mortality, immortality, friendship, and legacy, offering a timeless meditation on the human experience. It teaches that immortality is not found in escaping death, but in the meaningful relationships and deeds we leave behind. The relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is crucial to the story, as their deep connections lead to personal growth and understanding. Enkidu's death marks a turning point in the story, as it forces Gilgamesh to confront the fleeting nature of life and the inevitability of loss. The epic ultimately teaches that while immortality may be beyond our reach, we can still achieve a form of immortality through the lives we touch and the deeds we perform. In the end, Gilgamesh returns to Uruk, not as the arrogant king who sought only glory, but as a wise ruler who understands the importance of leaving a lasting legacy. He accepts the inevitability of death, but finds meaning in his contributions to his city and people. The walls of Uruk stand as a testament to his greatness, and through them his name will endure. The Epic of Gilgamesh explores themes of mortality, immortality, friendship, and legacy, offering a timeless meditation on the human experience. It teaches that immortality is not found in escaping death, but in the meaningful relationships and deeds we leave behind. The relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is crucial to the story, as their deep connections lead to personal growth and understanding. Enkidu's death marks a turning point in the story, as it forces Gilgamesh to confront the fleeting nature of life and the inevitability of loss. The epic ultimately teaches that while immortality may be beyond our reach, we can still achieve a form of immortality through the lives we touch and the deeds we perform. In the end, Gilgamesh returns to Uruk, not as the arrogant king who sought only glory, but as a wise ruler who understands the importance of leaving a lasting legacy. He accepts the inevitability of death, but finds meaning in his contributions to his city and people. The walls of Uruk stand as a testament to his greatness, and through them his name will endure. The Epic of Gilgamesh explores themes of mortality, immortality, friendship, and legacy, offering a timeless meditation on the human experience. It teaches that immortality is not found in escaping death, but in the meaningful relationships and deeds we leave behind. The relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is crucial to the story, as their deep connections lead to personal growth and understanding. Enkidu's death marks a turning point in the story, as it forces Gilgamesh to confront the fleeting nature of life and the inevitability of loss. The epic ultimately teaches that while immortality may be beyond our reach, we can still achieve a form of immortality through the lives we touch and the deeds we perform. In the end, Gilgamesh returns to Uruk, not as the arrogant king who sought only glory, but as a wise ruler who understands the importance of leaving a lasting legacy. He accepts the inevitability of death, but finds meaning in his contributions to his city and people. The walls of Uruk stand as a testament to his greatness, and through them his name will endure. The Epic of Gilgamesh explores themes of mortality, immortality, friendship, and legacy, offering a timeless meditation on the human experience. It teaches that immortality is not found in escaping death, but in the meaningful relationships and deeds we leave behind. The relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is crucial to the story, as their deep connections lead to personal growth and understanding. Enkidu's death. The Epic of Gilgamesh is a story that transcends the boundaries of its ancient origins, offering universal themes of the human experience. One of the prominent themes throughout the epic is the nature of heroism and what it means to be a hero. Gilgamesh, at the start of the story, embodies the classic hero, brave, powerful, and seemingly invincible. However, his heroism is initially flawed. His desire for fame, glory, and personal power leads him to act with arrogance and disregard for others, especially his people. It is through his relationship with Enkidu that Gilgamesh's notion of heroism is challenged and ultimately transformed. In the beginning, Gilgamesh seeks only to win glory for himself, fighting battles for the sake of proving his strength. However, the bond with Enkidu shifts his perspective. Together, they face challenges not for fame, but out of mutual respect and camaraderie. The death of Enkidu forces Gilgamesh to grapple with the limitations of his own mortality, leading him on a quest for deeper wisdom, where his previous understanding of heroism, rooted in strength and dominance, evolves into one of compassion, self-awareness, and the acceptance of life's fleeting nature. This shift in Gilgamesh's character marks his transformation from a flawed hero into a truly enlightened one, demonstrating that true heroism is not about conquering external foes, but about confronting one's own weaknesses and growing from them.
Additionally, the epic explores the theme of divine justice, or rather the lack of it. The gods in the Epic of Gilgamesh are capricious and unpredictable, acting based on their own wills and desires rather than any sense of fairness or justice. The gods punish Enkidu and Gilgamesh for their actions, despite their victories being in the service of both the divine and human interests. This inconsistency in divine justice reflects the ancient Mesopotamian view of the gods as powerful, yet not always just, and highlights the helplessness of humanity in the face of divine will. Gilgamesh and Enkidu's defiance of the gods by killing Humbaba and the Bull of Heaven is met with punishment, Enkidu's death, demonstrating that even the greatest of heroes are at the mercy of higher powers. This divine retribution raises existential questions about fate, free will, and justice, reinforcing the epic's message that humans, despite their strength, are ultimately subject to forces beyond their control. It suggests that the quest for immortality or divine favor may be futile because the gods themselves act based on unpredictable desires rather than a sense of moral right. Gilgamesh's realization of his powerlessness against divine forces becomes a pivotal moment in his character arc, underscoring the idea that mortality is inevitable, and that no matter how powerful a mortal may be, they cannot escape the whims of the gods. The epic also delves deeply into the philosophical reflections on the meaning of life and the quest for purpose. The gods grant immortality to Utnapishtim as a reward for surviving the flood, a divine gift that underscores the idea that immortality is not for mortals, but for the favored few. This narrative within the epic brings forth one of the core philosophical questions of the story. What is the meaning of life if it is inevitably fleeting? Gilgamesh's quest to find Utnapishtim and his subsequent failure to attain immortality mirror the human search for deeper meaning and the existential fear of oblivion. The journey is both literal and metaphorical. Gilgamesh not only seeks the secret to eternal life, but also embarks on an introspective journey to understand the essence of life itself. His experiences teach him that immortality cannot be achieved through personal glory or defiance of the gods, but through the lasting impact one has on the world. As Gilgamesh comes to terms with the inevitability of death, he gains a new understanding of what it means to live a meaningful life. In the end, he learns that the significance of life lies in one's deeds, relationships, and legacy, rather than the pursuit of eternal existence. This theme remains deeply relevant today, as the search for meaning in life and the fear of death continue to shape human existence. The relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu remains one of the most profound elements of the epic. Their bond exemplifies the deep human need for connection, friendship, and the sense of purpose that can only be achieved through shared experiences. Enkidu, created by the gods to balance Gilgamesh's excessive pride, is not just a foil for Gilgamesh's character, he is a catalyst for Gilgamesh's transformation. Through their companionship, Gilgamesh learns empathy, loyalty, and sacrifice. Enkidu teaches Gilgamesh that life is not about individual glory, but about the relationships we cultivate with others. Enkidu's death becomes the catalyst for Gilgamesh's search for immortality, but it also forces Gilgamesh to reflect on the importance of the bonds he has forged. It is through the loss of Enkidu that Gilgamesh comes to understand that the greatest legacy one can leave is not through the accumulation of wealth or fame, but through the lasting connections one forms with others. Enkidu's death symbolizes the fleeting nature of life and the inevitable loss that accompanies mortality. The loss of a loved one, in this case Enkidu, reflects a universal human experience, making Gilgamesh's grief relatable to all readers, no matter time or place. The theme of loss and the need for human connection serves as one of the most enduring elements of the epic. Another significant element of the epic is the flood myth.
The story of the Great Flood, as recounted by Utnapishtim, bears striking similarities to the biblical story of Noah's Ark. This story has been interpreted by many scholars as an example of shared cultural myths that transcend individual civilizations. The flood serves not only as a narrative device that offers a reason for Utnapishtim's immortality, but also as a symbolic element that reflects the cyclical nature of life and death. The flood represents destruction, cleansing, and renewal, an irreversible event that marks the end of one era and the beginning of another. For Gilgamesh, the flood story acts as a reminder of the transitory nature of human existence and the inevitable end that awaits all life. Utnapishtim's survival of the flood and his immortality as a result contrasts sharply with Gilgamesh's inability to attain immortality, reinforcing the idea that immortality is beyond human reach. This flood myth also serves to connect Gilgamesh's quest for immortality with broader themes of fate and divine intervention, showing that while humans may attempt to shape their own destinies, they are ultimately at the mercy of divine forces and the forces of nature. The concluding lesson of the Epic of Gilgamesh is one of acceptance of mortality, of fate, and of the limits of human existence. Through his trials and tribulations, Gilgamesh learns that death is not something to be feared or avoided, but something that must be embraced as a natural part of life. His acceptance of death is not an admission of defeat, but an acknowledgement of the human condition. It is through this acceptance that Gilgamesh finds peace and wisdom. By the end of the epic, Gilgamesh is no longer the arrogant, selfish king who sought glory for his own sake. He returns to Uruk as a wiser, more reflective leader, understanding that true immortality lies in the lives we touch, the love we give, and the work we leave behind. The walls of Uruk, which he built, stand as a testament to his achievements and serve as a reminder that even though death is inevitable, the legacy we leave behind can transcend it. This realization brings Gilgamesh peace as he understands that immortality is not something to be sought in physical form, but something that can be found in the enduring impact of one's actions and relationships.
The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the oldest surviving works of literature, originating from ancient Mesopotamia, and it explores profound themes about mortality, immortality, friendship, and the search for meaning in life. The central figure, Gilgamesh, is introduced as the two-thirds divine and one-third human king of Uruk. His power, strength, and charisma make him an imposing figure, but he is also a tyrant, causing suffering among his people. In response to his cruelty, the gods create Enkidu, a wild man, who is meant to humble Gilgamesh and provide him with a challenge. Enkidu's introduction to civilization through Shamhat, a temple prostitute, marks the beginning of his transition from the wild to human society. Upon meeting Gilgamesh, Enkidu initially battles him, but the two eventually recognize each other's strength and form a profound bond of friendship. This companionship becomes a cornerstone of the story, as the duo embarks on numerous adventures, including the defeat of Humbaba, the monstrous guardian of the cedar forest, and the slaying of the bull of heaven, sent by the goddess Ishtar after Gilgamesh rejects her advances. Their victories bring them fame, but they also provoke the wrath of the gods. As punishment for their defiance, the gods cause Enkidu's death, a moment that deeply affects Gilgamesh, forcing him to confront the inevitability of his own mortality. This loss drives him into a state of despair and leads him to embark on a quest to find Utnapishtim, the immortal survivor of a great flood, in the hope of learning the secret to eternal life. Utnapishtim recounts the flood story, which mirrors the biblical tale of Noah's Ark, and tells Gilgamesh that immortality is reserved for the gods, not mortals. He offers Gilgamesh a test. If he can stay awake for 6 days and 7 nights, he will be granted the secret of immortality.
However, Gilgamesh fails the test, falling asleep almost immediately. This failure serves as a symbolic reminder of the limitations of human existence. Upon awakening, Gilgamesh realizes that immortality is unattainable for mortals, and the ultimate lesson of his journey becomes clear. Immortality is not about escaping death, but about leaving behind a meaningful legacy. Returning to Uruk, Gilgamesh reflects on the walls of the city he built, which will stand long after his death. He recognizes that true immortality is found in the impact one leaves behind, through deeds, relationships, and accomplishments that outlast one's physical life. This realization marks the end of his search for immortality and the beginning of his acceptance of mortality. The Epic of Gilgamesh explores the tension between human ambition and the inevitability of death, showing how the pursuit of eternal life can lead to deeper understanding. Gilgamesh's transformation from a selfish and tyrannical ruler to a wise and reflective king illustrates the importance of personal growth and the value of relationships. His journey is a reflection of the universal human struggle to find meaning in life, and the epic's ultimate message is that immortality is not achieved through defying death, but by living a meaningful life that leaves a lasting impact on the world. The bond between Gilgamesh and Enkidu plays a central role in this transformation. Enkidu is not just a companion, but a mirror to Gilgamesh, teaching him the value of friendship, loyalty, and emotional depth. Through their shared experiences, Gilgamesh learns that true strength lies not only in physical power, but in the connections we make with others. Enkidu's death becomes the catalyst for Gilgamesh's self-discovery, forcing him to confront the fragility of life and his own vulnerability. The gods in the epic, though powerful, are capricious and unpredictable, acting based on their own desires rather than any sense of justice. They create Enkidu to challenge Gilgamesh's arrogance,
but punish him for his victories, sending the Bull of Heaven to Uruk. This highlights the arbitrary nature of divine justice and raises existential questions about fate, free will, and the meaning of human existence. The gods' actions emphasize the theme of human helplessness in the face of divine will. Despite Gilgamesh's strength and wisdom, he is unable to escape the influence of the gods. The epic also explores the significance of legacy. Gilgamesh's quest for immortality is ultimately tied to his desire to leave behind something that will endure after his death. His creation of the walls of Uruk becomes a metaphor for his lasting impact, symbolizing the idea that immortality is not found in escaping death, but in leaving behind tangible accomplishments that stand the test of time. The walls of Uruk, which Gilgamesh himself built, will stand as a monument to his greatness long after he is gone. This theme of legacy reflects the Mesopotamian belief that immortality could be achieved not through eternal life, but through the lasting impact of one's deeds. The idea of immortality through legacy is also intertwined with the theme of human connection. Throughout the epic, Gilgamesh learns that the most meaningful achievements are those that contribute to the well-being of others. His transformation from a selfish and arrogant ruler to a compassionate and self-aware leader reflects the importance of building relationships and leaving a positive mark on the world. The death of Enkidu serves as a turning point in Gilgamesh's character development, pushing him to seek a deeper understanding of life's purpose. In his grief, Gilgamesh embarks on a journey not just for immortality, but for wisdom and self-awareness. By the end of the epic, he learns that the true meaning of life lies not in personal glory or the pursuit of eternal life, but in the impact one has on others and the world. The philosophical questions raised in the Epic of Gilgamesh continue to resonate with readers today. The story's exploration of mortality, immortality, friendship, and legacy speak to universal human concerns. The quest for immortality, the fear of death, and the desire to leave behind a meaningful legacy are all themes that remain relevant in the modern world. The Epic of Gilgamesh also has a profound influence on later literature, particularly through its shared themes and motifs. The flood narrative in Gilgamesh closely mirrors the biblical story of Noah's Ark, suggesting a shared cultural myth about the destruction and renewal of humanity. The theme of the hero's quest for immortality also appears in numerous later works of literature, from Homer's Iliad and Odyssey to modern existentialist literature. The relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu has influenced the portrayal of friendship in literature, demonstrating how deep connections with others can lead to personal growth and transformation. The Epic of Gilgamesh also provides valuable insights into ancient Mesopotamian culture, particularly the relationship between humans and the gods. The gods in the epic are portrayed as powerful but fallible beings whose actions often seem arbitrary and capricious. This reflects the Mesopotamian worldview, where the gods controlled the destinies of mortals and human beings were subject to the whims of higher powers. The epic also underscores the importance of legacy, showing that the achievements and relationships that define a person's life are what ultimately give it meaning. The construction of the walls of Uruk symbolizes the idea that immortality is not about escaping death, but about creating something that endures. The Epic of Gilgamesh is a work that speaks to the human condition, offering timeless insights into the struggles we all face, the search for meaning, the fear of death, and the desire to leave behind something that will outlast us. The epic's exploration of mortality and immortality, friendship and legacy continue to inspire and resonate with readers across time and cultures. The themes of the epic remain as relevant today as they were in ancient Mesopotamia, making it one of the most enduring works in world literature. The journey of Gilgamesh, his struggles, and his eventual acceptance of mortality offer a powerful reminder that while death is inevitable, the impact we have on the world can provide a form of immortality that transcends time.
The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the oldest surviving pieces of literature, originating from ancient Mesopotamia and offering profound insights into the human experience. The story centers around Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk, who is 2/3 divine and 1/3 human. Despite his immense strength and power, Gilgamesh begins as a tyrannical ruler, abusing his power and causing suffering among his people. The gods, seeing the people's distress, create Enkidu, a wild man, to challenge Gilgamesh and humble him. Enkidu, who lives among the animals, is introduced to human civilization through Shamhat, a temple prostitute. Through Shamhat, Enkidu is slowly transformed from a wild being into a man, learning about human society, culture, and desires. When Enkidu travels to Uruk, he meets Gilgamesh, and the two engage in a fierce battle. They are evenly matched, but instead of continuing their fight, they recognize each other's strength and form a deep, unbreakable friendship. This bond becomes the emotional center of the epic, symbolizing the power of companionship and human connection. Together, Gilgamesh and Enkidu set off on heroic quests, including the defeat of Humbaba, the guardian of the cedar forest, and the slaying of the bull of heaven, which is sent by the goddess Ishtar after Gilgamesh rejects her advances. Their victories bring them fame and recognition, but also provoke the wrath of the gods. The gods, displeased with their defiance, punish Enkidu by taking his life, which devastates Gilgamesh and forces him to confront his own mortality. The loss of Enkidu is a turning point in the narrative, sparking Gilgamesh's quest for immortality.
Overcome by grief and the fear of death, Gilgamesh sets out to find Utnapishtim, the immortal sage who survived a great flood, hoping to learn the secret of eternal life. Utnapishtim recounts his story of survival, a tale strikingly similar to the biblical story of Noah's Ark. Utnapishtim tells Gilgamesh that immortality is a divine gift meant only for the gods and not for mortals, revealing that death is an inevitable part of the human condition. However, Utnapishtim offers Gilgamesh a test. If he can stay awake for 6 days and 7 nights, he will be granted the secret of immortality. Gilgamesh accepts the challenge, eager to prove his worth, but he fails almost immediately, falling asleep after only a short period. This failure is symbolic of the limits of human strength and willpower, serving as a reminder that immortality cannot be attained through mere effort or desire. Gilgamesh's failure to stay awake underscores the inescapable reality of death and the inability of humans to escape their mortality. Upon awakening, Gilgamesh comes to the realization that immortality is beyond his reach, but his journey is not in vain. His journey reveals the essential truth that immortality is not found in the physical avoidance of death, but in leaving behind a meaningful legacy. Upon returning to Uruk, Gilgamesh reflects on the walls of his city, his most enduring achievement, and comes to understand that immortality can be found in the things we create, the people we love, and the impact we have on the world. The walls of Uruk, which will outlast him, serve as a testament to his greatness, and through them he will live on in the memories of future generations. This realization marks a profound shift in Gilgamesh's understanding of life and death. Rather than fearing death, he learns to accept it as a natural part of existence. His journey reveals that life's true meaning is found not in the pursuit of immortality, but in the quality of the life we live and the legacy we leave behind. In his final moments, Gilgamesh accepts the inevitability of death and begins to see that the relationships he forms and the deeds he accomplishes will endure far longer than his physical body. The Epic of Gilgamesh is more than a tale of heroism and adventure. It is a reflection on the universal human quest for meaning and the inevitability of death. The story highlights the struggle between the desire for eternal life and the acceptance of mortality. Gilgamesh's quest for immortality is symbolic of the human desire to transcend death and achieve something greater than oneself. His journey reveals that immortality is not about defying death, but about finding meaning in life through relationships, legacy, and deeds. Gilgamesh's transformation from a selfish, tyrannical king to a much more wise and empathetic leader. Wise, reflective leader speaks to the importance of self-awareness and emotional growth. His experiences with loss, grief, and a search for meaning mirror the struggles that all humans face in the face of mortality. His acceptance of death is not an admission of defeat, but a recognition of the human condition, and in this acceptance he gains the wisdom to lead his people more effectively. The Epic of Gilgamesh also reflects the ancient Mesopotamian worldview, where the gods were seen as powerful but often unpredictable. The gods in the epic play an active role in the lives of Gilgamesh and Enkidu, guiding them, punishing them, and ultimately shaping their destinies. Their actions are often arbitrary, reflecting the belief that mortals were at the mercy of divine will. This capricious nature of the gods raises questions about divine justice and the nature of fate. The gods are not all-powerful or infallible, and they do not always act in ways that are morally just. Their decisions are based on their own desires and whims rather than any sense of fairness. This presents a stark contrast to the human desire for control over their own lives, illustrating the tension between human ambition and the limits of divine will. The gods' actions are unpredictable, and even Gilgamesh's strength and wisdom cannot protect him from their wrath.
The story of the god's role in Gilgamesh's life highlights the ancient belief that humans were powerless in the face of divine forces, and that fate was determined by forces beyond human understanding. The theme of legacy is also central to the Epic of Gilgamesh. Throughout the story, Gilgamesh is concerned with how he will be remembered after his death. His desire for immortality is not just about escaping death, but about leaving a legacy that will endure. The construction of the walls of Uruk becomes a symbol of this legacy, representing Gilgamesh's greatest achievement. The walls which Gilgamesh built will stand for generations, outlasting him and preserving his name. This realization marks a shift in Gilgamesh's priorities, as he begins to see that immortality is not achieved through physical life, but through the lasting impact one has on the world. The legacy of one's deeds, relationships, and contributions is what endures long after death. The story encourages readers to consider the meaning of their own lives and the legacy they wish to leave behind. The theme of legacy also speaks to the importance of human connection. The bond between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is not just a personal relationship, but a transformative force that shapes Gilgamesh's character. Enkidu teaches Gilgamesh the value of friendship, loyalty, and sacrifice. Their adventures together show that true strength lies not in physical power, but in emotional depth and connection with others. Enkidu's death serves as a catalyst for Gilgamesh's journey of self-discovery, forcing him to confront the limitations of his own existence and the inevitability of loss. Through his grief, Gilgamesh learns that the most meaningful legacy one can leave is not through fame or wealth, but through the love and relationships that define one's life. The Epic of Gilgamesh also explores the significance of friendship, loss, and the emotional growth that comes from these experiences. The epic demonstrates that humans are not meant to live in isolation, but to form deep, meaningful connections with others. Through Gilgamesh's relationship with Enkidu, the story underscores the importance of companionship, love, and emotional growth in shaping one's life. Gilgamesh's transformation from a selfish ruler to a compassionate leader is made possible through his friendship with Enkidu, and this bond becomes the driving force behind his eventual acceptance of mortality. In the end, the Epic of Gilgamesh remains a powerful and timeless exploration of the human condition, touching on universal themes that continue to resonate across cultures and time periods. It teaches that while immortality may be beyond our reach, the impact we have on others, the legacy we leave, and the relationships we form provide a form of immortality that transcends death. The epic remains relevant today because it addresses the essential questions of life and death, the desire for meaning, and the search for a lasting legacy. Through Gilgamesh's journey, we are reminded of the importance of accepting our limitations, living a meaningful life, and cherishing the relationships that give our lives purpose.
The Epic of Gilgamesh continues to resonate because of its exploration of the universal themes of life, death, friendship, and the search for meaning. As a king, Gilgamesh is initially consumed with pride, arrogance, and the desire for fame. His sense of invincibility leads him to exploit his people, demonstrating that power unchecked by empathy can lead to tyranny. The gods, who observe the suffering of the people of Uruk, decide to create a counterbalance to Gilgamesh's arrogance in the form of Enkidu. The creation of Enkidu is significant as it establishes the idea of balance in nature and society. Enkidu, a wild man living with animals, represents the untamed force of nature, and through his encounter with Shamhat, he learns about civilization, thereby drawing a sharp contrast to Gilgamesh's city-bred sophistication. Enkidu's transformation symbolizes the importance of balance in human life, between nature and civilization, freedom and structure, individual desires and social responsibility.
The initial clash between Gilgamesh and Enkidu signifies the opposition between these forces, but it also shows how the two can complement each other, leading to their deep friendship. This bond teaches Gilgamesh important lessons in humility, the value of others, and the realization that strength lies in relationships rather than in the pursuit of personal glory. The friendship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu serves as the emotional anchor of the epic, as their shared adventures, such as slaying Humbaba, the monstrous guardian of the cedar forest, and confronting the bull of heaven, bring them not just fame, but the understanding that companionship and mutual respect are fundamental to true heroism. However, their defiance of the gods, particularly in killing Humbaba and slaying the bull of heaven, leads to divine punishment, and Enkidu's death becomes the catalyst for Gilgamesh's transformation. Enkidu's death is devastating to Gilgamesh, and it forces him to confront the reality that all humans, no matter how strong or powerful, must face death. This loss drives Gilgamesh into a profound existential crisis, where he realizes that immortality, which he had longed for, is beyond human reach. His search for immortality leads him on a journey to find Utnapishtim, an immortal sage who survived a great flood sent by the gods to destroy humanity. Utnapishtim's story, echoing the biblical tale of Noah's Ark, is essential to the narrative because it teaches Gilgamesh that immortality is not a gift for humans. Utnapishtim explains that he and his wife were granted eternal life by the gods after surviving the flood, but immortality is a divine privilege, not a mortal one. His narrative serves to underscore the inevitability of death and the importance of accepting mortality as part of the human condition. Utnapishtim offers Gilgamesh a test to prove his worth for immortality. He must stay awake for 6 days and 7 nights. Gilgamesh, eager to prove his resolve, accepts the challenge, only to fail almost immediately, falling into an exhausted sleep. His failure is symbolic of the human struggle to transcend mortality, highlighting the limits of human strength, willpower, and the futility of seeking immortality. Upon awakening, Gilgamesh comes to the painful realization that immortality is beyond his grasp, and he must accept the reality of death. The epic's transformative lesson is not about escaping death, but about finding meaning within the life that one lives. The quest for immortality is not the true pursuit, Gilgamesh learns, but the legacy one leaves behind, the relationships one forms, and the deeds one performs during their lifetime. Upon returning to Uruk, Gilgamesh reflects on the city's walls, which he had built, and understands that his true immortality lies not in living forever, but in what he contributes to the world. The walls of Uruk stand as a testament to his achievements, lasting far beyond his death. The realization that immortality is not physical, but achieved through legacy, love, and relationships marks Gilgamesh's evolution from a selfish and arrogant king to a wise and reflective leader. The acceptance of mortality is the final lesson of Gilgamesh's journey, as he understands that death is a natural and inevitable part of the human condition, and the way to live a meaningful life is not to fear death, but to live fully, with integrity and purpose. The themes of mortality, immortality, legacy, and friendship are central to the narrative, offering timeless insights into the human condition. The epic grapples with the essential questions of life and death, the desire for meaning, and the search for immortality. Gilgamesh's quest for eternal life reflects the universal desire to transcend the limits of time and death, yet his journey reveals that immortality cannot be achieved by defying death, but through the impact one leaves behind. Gilgamesh's transformation from a tyrant to a wise ruler demonstrates the growth that comes from self-awareness, the realization that strength is not just physical, but emotional and spiritual. His journey is a reminder that the quest for immortality in itself is an existential dilemma that only leads to deeper self-discovery and an understanding of the value of life. The epic also touches on the nature of the gods. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the gods are portrayed as powerful but often arbitrary figures, acting out of their own desires and whims rather than any inherent moral code. While the gods control the destinies of mortals, they are not omnipotent or entirely just. The gods create Enkidu to challenge Gilgamesh's arrogance, yet they also punish him for his victories, showing that human beings are ultimately at the mercy of divine will. The actions of the gods often seem capricious and beyond human understanding, raising profound questions about fate, divine justice, and the role of humanity in a world controlled by higher powers. The gods in the epic reflect the unpredictable nature of life itself. Humans can only control so much, but they are subject to forces beyond their comprehension. This theme underscores the existential notion that the human desire to control fate and escape death is ultimately futile. Another essential theme in the epic is the idea of friendship. The relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is not just a personal bond, but a transformative force in Gilgamesh's character. Through Enkidu's companionship, Gilgamesh learns the importance of loyalty, selflessness, and emotional depth. The deep bond between them stands in contrast to Gilgamesh's initial arrogance and self-centeredness. Enkidu's death forces Gilgamesh to confront the fragility of life and the inevitability of loss, sparking his search for immortality. Ultimately, the epic shows that it is not through defying death that one achieves immortality, but through love, friendship, and the legacy one leaves behind. The relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu is symbolic of the profound human need for connection and companionship. The epic reveals that the connections we form with others are one of the greatest sources of meaning in life, as they provide comfort, support, and purpose. Through this bond, Gilgamesh learns that life is not about seeking eternal glory, but about forming deep relationships that offer meaning in the face of inevitable mortality. The Epic of Gilgamesh continues to be relevant because of its universal themes. It addresses questions of existence, legacy, mortality, and the human desire for meaning, issues that remain as pertinent today as they were in ancient times. The epic is not just a tale of adventure, but a philosophical reflection on the human condition. It reminds readers that while death is inescapable, the way we live, through our relationships, our actions, and the legacy we leave behind, can provide a form of immortality that transcends time. The Epic of Gilgamesh remains one of the most enduring and influential works in world literature, offering profound insights into human nature and the universal struggle to make sense of life in the face of death. Its themes continue to resonate across cultures and generations, making it a timeless reflection on the human experience.
The Epic of Gilgamesh not only touches on the themes of mortality and immortality, but also delves deeply into the human relationship with nature, civilization, and the divine. Gilgamesh and Enkidu's contrasting backgrounds, one being a king raised in luxury and the other a wild man from the steppe, highlight the tension between nature and civilization, a recurring theme in human history. Enkidu represents the untamed natural world, living freely without the constraints of society. His transformation into a civilized man through Shamhat is symbolic of the human process of domestication, where nature is replaced by structure and control. This contrast between the natural and civilized worlds is central to Gilgamesh's journey, as he moves from a ruler obsessed with his own glory and strength to a man who understands the importance of human connection and the limits of his power. The encounter between Gilgamesh and Enkidu serves as a pivotal moment in the story, as their shared adventures teach Gilgamesh the importance of collaboration and mutual respect. Their bond exemplifies the power of companionship and the deep emotional connections that humans form, which stand in stark contrast to the solitary pursuit of glory. Gilgamesh's transformation through his relationship with Enkidu is a powerful reflection of the need for balance between the individual and the collective, and between the untamed forces of nature and the ordered structure of civilization. Through their friendship, Gilgamesh learns that the strength of an individual is not enough to overcome the challenges of life. Only through unity and shared experiences can humans truly find meaning. This relationship also teaches Gilgamesh that true greatness lies not in the domination of others or the pursuit of immortality, but in the ability to form lasting, meaningful bonds with those around him. The death of Enkidu forces Gilgamesh to confront the impermanence of life and the limits of human control. Enkidu's death, which is a punishment from the gods for their defiance, emphasizes the futility of trying to escape divine will. The gods in the Epic of Gilgamesh are portrayed as powerful but unpredictable beings, often acting based on their own desires rather than any consistent moral code. They create Enkidu to humble Gilgamesh, yet they also punish the heroes for their actions, sending the Bull of Heaven to Uruk as retribution. This shows that despite their achievements, humans remain at the mercy of divine forces that are beyond their control. The gods are not all-knowing or benevolent. They shape the lives of mortals through their whims, and even the most heroic humans cannot escape their fate. This randomness in divine action is a central feature of the epic, illustrating the tension between human ambition and divine will. The epic suggests that the gods' arbitrary interventions in human affairs are a reminder of the inherent unpredictability and uncontrollability of life. The Epic of Gilgamesh also addresses the concept of fate. While Gilgamesh seeks to control his own destiny through his heroic deeds, he ultimately learns that he is powerless in the face of fate. His quest for immortality is driven by a desire to transcend his fate, death. But through his journey, he discovers that fate is not something that can be avoided. His failure to attain immortality is a humbling reminder that there are forces beyond human comprehension and control. Gilgamesh's acceptance of his fate marks the final stage of his personal growth, as he comes to terms with the fact that, while he cannot escape death, he can still live a life that is meaningful and impactful. This theme of fate reflects a key aspect of Mesopotamian thought, where the gods were believed to control the destinies of mortals and where human beings were seen as subject to divine will. The epic's exploration of fate suggests that humans must come to terms with the limits of their power and accept the reality of their mortality. However, it also offers a message of hope, showing that while one cannot control fate, one can still shape their life through meaningful actions and relationships. This theme is particularly relevant today, as people continue to grapple with the question of whether they control their own destinies or are at the mercy of forces beyond their understanding. The pursuit of immortality in the epic is not just about avoiding death, it is also about the human desire to transcend the limitations of the body and the temporal world. Gilgamesh's search for eternal life is a reflection of the universal human wish to achieve something lasting, to leave behind a legacy that will endure through the ages. His quest ultimately reveals that immortality cannot be achieved through defiance of death, but rather through the lasting impact of one's deeds and relationships. This realization comes after Gilgamesh returns to Uruk and reflects on the city's walls, which he himself built. These walls stand as a symbol of his lasting contribution to the world and his legacy. The message is clear. True immortality lies not in the avoidance of death, but in the lasting impact one has on the world through love, relationships, and meaningful actions. The final lesson of the epic is that while death is inevitable, the human capacity to form relationships, to build, to create, and to inspire others offers a form of immortality that transcends the grave. The Epic of Gilgamesh teaches us that death is not something to be feared or avoided, but something to be accepted as a natural part of life. The epic offers a profound meditation on the meaning of life and death, exploring the complexities of existence and the human desire to leave a lasting mark on the world. Gilgamesh's journey is a reflection of the universal human experience, and his story continues to resonate with readers across cultures and time periods. His transformation from a tyrannical ruler to a wise, reflective leader mirrors the growth that occurs when individuals come to terms with their mortality and accept the limitations of their existence. His journey teaches that immortality is not a physical reality, but a spiritual one, found in the relationships we build and the legacy we leave. The enduring relevance of the Epic of Gilgamesh lies in its ability to speak to the universal human experience, addressing themes that remain as relevant today as they were in ancient times. Its exploration of mortality, immortality, fate, and legacy continues to inspire readers and provoke thought, making it one of the most significant works of world literature. Through Gilgamesh's experiences, we are reminded that while death is an unavoidable part of the human condition, the way we live, the relationships we form, and the impact we have on the world can provide a form of immortality that transcends time. The Epic of Gilgamesh continues to speak to readers across generations, offering a timeless reflection on life, death, and the pursuit of meaning in an impermanent world.
The Epic of Gilgamesh's profound exploration of mortality and immortality does not stop at the human experience. It delves into how civilizations, ideas, and relationships interact with the passing of time and the inevitable end of human existence. The epic's reflection on the nature of kingship and leadership is another vital layer in understanding its themes. Gilgamesh's initial portrayal as a tyrant, using his position to abuse the people of Uruk, sets the stage for a narrative that questions the nature of power. In the beginning, he seeks glory for himself, ignoring the well-being of his people. This self-centered approach represents the hubristic view of leadership, where the ruler's fame and strength come at the expense of those he governs. Gilgamesh's journey, both literal and emotional, is a critique of this type of leadership. His transformation from a tyrant to a wise and reflective king mirrors the epic's assertion that true power and greatness lie not in selfish rule, but in the capacity to understand the transient nature of life and to serve the greater good. Enkidu's introduction and eventual death emphasize the importance of companionship, as Gilgamesh learns through their friendship that leadership is not about domination, but about understanding and empathy. Their shared adventures reflect how collaboration and compassion are at the core of human experience and governance. Enkidu's death is the painful event that catalyzes Gilgamesh's deeper realization of the importance of balance in leadership. Enkidu's untimely death becomes the moment that forces Gilgamesh to understand his limitations as a ruler and human, helping him evolve from a selfish, power-hungry monarch into a ruler capable of reflecting on life's deeper questions. This is especially important as Gilgamesh realizes that leadership is not defined by the quest for immortality or power, but by wisdom, empathy, and the legacy one leaves behind, especially when those in power are inevitably replaced or forgotten. Furthermore, the epic critiques the notion of immortality that is often associated with leaders and kings. Gilgamesh's quest is based on a desire to transcend the inevitability of death, to be remembered forever as a hero whose name never fades. However, through his journey, he learns that immortality is not reserved for those who seek it through fame or force. Utnapishtim, the immortal sage, explains that immortality is granted by the gods to a select few and cannot be achieved through human endeavor. This realization leads Gilgamesh to the understanding that no matter how grand the achievements or how powerful the ruler, the quest for personal immortality will always be futile. This makes the final lesson of Gilgamesh's journey all the more poignant. Immortality lies not in escaping death, but in the enduring impact we make on the lives of others and the legacies we leave behind. The philosophical discussions raised by Gilgamesh's quest for immortality are not just about death, but about the human desire to make sense of life within the context of the inevitable end. The Epic of Gilgamesh thus speaks to the deepest human fears, desires, and insecurities regarding life's meaning, the significance of human existence, and the ultimate question of what survives after death. Through his acceptance of mortality and the legacy he leaves, Gilgamesh exemplifies the realization that what truly matters in life is not eternal physical life, but the emotional and moral impact that one's actions and relationships have on others. The walls of Uruk, which Gilgamesh proudly built, serve as a metaphor for this idea. Even though the physical self is subject to death, the deeds and creations that one leaves behind can transcend the limits of mortality. This theme of legacy challenges the commonly held belief that immortality must be achieved through eternal physical life or divine intervention. Instead, it suggests that humans achieve immortality through their relationships with others, the meaningful acts they perform, and the influence they have on future generations. In this way, Gilgamesh's journey is ultimately one of growth and maturation, where the pursuit of immortality is replaced by the acceptance of death and the embrace of a meaningful life that leaves behind something enduring. Additionally, the flood story in the Epic of Gilgamesh serves not just as a pivotal moment in Gilgamesh's quest for immortality, but also as a foundational myth about the cyclical nature of life. Utnapishtim recounts how he and his family were spared from a divine flood meant to cleanse the earth of its corruption. The flood myth shares striking similarities with the biblical Noah's Ark, highlighting the recurring theme of divine retribution and renewal. However, in Gilgamesh's case, the flood is not just a physical event, but a symbol of the broader cyclical process of life and death. The flood represents destruction, cleansing, and rebirth, an eternal cycle that transcends individual existence and is part of the natural order of the universe. This symbolizes the transience of human life, where everything eventually decays and gives way to something new. Through his encounter with Utnapishtim, Gilgamesh learns that life itself, just like the flood, is subject to cycles of creation, destruction, and renewal. The flood also highlights the ancient Mesopotamian worldview, where gods controlled natural disasters and events that shaped the fate of humanity. This divine intervention raises profound questions about the nature of justice, fate, and the relationship between humans and the gods. While the gods may be powerful, they are not all-knowing or entirely just, and their decisions can seem arbitrary, as seen in the punishment of Gilgamesh and Enkidu. This capriciousness in divine will further emphasizes the limitations of human control and the randomness that governs the world. Despite his wisdom and strength, Gilgamesh learns that he, like all mortals, is subject to forces beyond his comprehension, particularly divine forces that cannot be predicted or understood. This realization forces Gilgamesh to finally accept that his efforts to transcend death and achieve immortality are futile. In doing so, he achieves a new understanding of his place in the world. Rather than striving for immortality or defying the gods, Gilgamesh learns to embrace life in its impermanent form. This acceptance of mortality and the shift from selfish glory to selfless legacy is the heart of his transformation. The Epic of Gilgamesh is ultimately a story of growth, not just physically or politically, but spiritually and philosophically. Gilgamesh's journey from a proud, self-centered ruler to a reflective, wise leader is a testament to the power of personal transformation. His friendship with Enkidu, the loss of his companion, his quest for immortality, and his final acceptance of death all point to the essential human truth that the search for meaning in life is not about escaping death, but about embracing the journey and making the most of the time one has. The epic continues to inspire readers across generations because its themes are universally human: death, love, friendship, legacy, and the search for meaning. Gilgamesh's journey is a mirror for all who confront their own fears and search for purpose in an impermanent world, making the Epic of Gilgamesh one of the most enduring and significant works in world literature. Through Gilgamesh's story, we are reminded that while immortality may be beyond our reach, the legacy we leave, through relationships, deeds, and the lasting impact we make on the world, is a form of immortality that transcends time.
As the Epic of Gilgamesh progresses, it also highlights the significant role of fate and free will in shaping the lives of its characters. Gilgamesh, initially a tyrant, embarks on his quest for immortality driven by the fear of death, which pushes him to challenge both his mortality and fate. His journey serves as an exploration of whether individuals can control their own destiny or if their fate is preordained by forces beyond their control. The journey of Gilgamesh is one where he learns that while he may have the strength to shape his physical world, he cannot escape the forces that govern life and death. Utnapishtim, in recounting his survival of the Great Flood, reveals that the gods are the ultimate arbiters of fate, not humans, and that no one, no matter how powerful, can alter their fate once it has been set by the gods. This realization becomes crucial in Gilgamesh's transformation as he comes to understand that immortality is a divine prerogative, not a human possibility. His acceptance of the limits of human control underscores the universal human struggle against forces that seem beyond comprehension or influence. The recurring theme in the Epic of Gilgamesh is that despite human efforts, fate is something that must be accepted. Gilgamesh's efforts to defy death and achieve immortality are noble but ultimately futile, as they cannot overcome the power of fate and divine will. However, it is in his acceptance of this truth that he finds peace, and through this peace he is able to return to Uruk, where he comes to appreciate the lasting nature of the physical structures and the legacy he will leave behind. His reflection on the walls of Uruk, which he built as part of his reign, symbolizes his acceptance of mortality and the realization that while immortality may not be achievable, his legacy, through his deeds and the city he helped shape, will endure. This shift in perspective, away from a pursuit of eternal life and toward an embrace of mortality, marks the culmination of his character development. It is through accepting death that Gilgamesh ultimately finds a deeper sense of fulfillment. The epic conveys that humans should not merely seek to survive death, but to live meaningful lives, leaving a legacy that extends beyond their own limited time. While Gilgamesh's journey starts with a desire to overcome death, it ends with the recognition that it is through our relationships, creations, and impact on others that we achieve a form of immortality that transcends the grave. The enduring relevance of the Epic of Gilgamesh is found in its ability to address questions that remain timeless. What is the meaning of life? How do we find purpose in the face of death? Is immortality achievable, or is it something that we can only attain through our influence on others? These questions continue to resonate with readers, making the epic not just a product of its time, but a profound meditation on the human condition. Gilgamesh's transformation from a self-centered king into a wise ruler reflects the broader human experience of growth, understanding, and acceptance. His journey is one that many of us can relate to, as we all grapple with the realities of mortality, the desire to make an impact, and the need to find meaning in our lives. The relationship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu, which serves as the emotional core of the epic, is another key element that provides lasting value. The bond between the two characters represents the power of human connection. Through their companionship, Gilgamesh learns the importance of empathy, sacrifice, and mutual respect. Enkidu is not just a companion in Gilgamesh's adventures, but a mirror that reflects his flaws, offering him the opportunity to grow emotionally and spiritually. Enkidu's death is a pivotal moment in the narrative, as it forces Gilgamesh to confront the fragility of life and the inevitability of loss. This loss becomes the catalyst for Gilgamesh's search for immortality, but it also teaches him that true immortality is not found in escaping death, but in living a life that leaves a lasting impact on others. Through his grief and reflection, Gilgamesh learns that the greatest legacy one can leave is not through the accumulation of wealth or fame, but through the relationships we build and the lives we touch. This theme of human connection extends beyond Gilgamesh's relationship with Enkidu to the broader message that humans cannot live in isolation. The epic conveys that relationships are essential to the human experience, providing meaning and purpose.
In his transformation, Gilgamesh learns that true strength lies not in conquering the external world, but in conquering the internal world, by understanding his own emotions, acknowledging his mortality, and realizing that it is the bonds he forms with others that will define his legacy. The theme of friendship is central to the epic and is reflective of the values of the ancient Mesopotamian culture, where strong bonds between individuals were considered essential for the survival and prosperity of society. Gilgamesh's relationship with Enkidu is symbolic of the ideal relationship between people, one of mutual respect, loyalty, and sacrifice. The epic highlights that such friendships are not only emotionally fulfilling, but also instrumental in shaping personal growth and understanding. In this way, the Epic of Gilgamesh presents friendship as a force that drives personal transformation. The flood myth within the Epic of Gilgamesh serves as a powerful symbol of renewal and destruction, representing the cyclical nature of life. The flood, which destroys much of humanity, is an event that, while catastrophic, ultimately leads to a new beginning. Utnapishtim's survival of the flood and the immortality granted to him serve to emphasize that while human life is fragile, there is also the potential for renewal and new life. The flood is a symbol of the divine will to reshape the world and humanity, much like the cycles of death and rebirth that govern both nature and life itself. The flood also ties into the larger theme of divine justice in the epic. The gods, in their decision to destroy humanity with the flood, demonstrate their power and control over the fate of mortals. Their actions highlight the ancient belief that humans are subject to divine judgment, and that no matter how much one may struggle against fate or the gods, they remain at the mercy of forces beyond their understanding or control. This theme of divine intervention, as seen through the flood, reinforces the idea that humans must come to terms with their limited power and accept the inevitability of death, as well as the sometimes arbitrary nature of divine will. The flood is also an example of the interconnectedness of life and death. Through its destruction, the flood clears the way for a new beginning, representing the cyclical nature of existence, where life, death, and renewal are inextricably linked. This renewal through destruction is another recurring theme in the Epic of Gilgamesh, as it reflects the eternal struggle between life and death, creation and destruction. In this sense, the flood serves as both a literal and symbolic event that shapes the course of the story and Gilgamesh's journey. The Epic of Gilgamesh is ultimately a tale of self-discovery, a story of a man's search for meaning in a world governed by forces beyond his control. Through his relationship with Enkidu, his quest for immortality, and his eventual acceptance of death, Gilgamesh learns the value of life itself and the importance of the legacy one leaves behind. The epic teaches that while death is inevitable, the impact we have on the world can transcend our own mortality. By learning to live fully, embrace relationships, and leave a positive mark on the world, humans can achieve a form of immortality that survives beyond the grave.
The Epic of Gilgamesh continues to captivate readers with its profound exploration of human nature, the relationship between humans and the divine, and the complex interaction between free will and fate. As Gilgamesh journeys through the wilderness of life and death, he not only confronts his own mortality, but also grapples with the larger existential questions that continue to challenge human existence. What does it mean to live a meaningful life? What can we leave behind that will outlast us? The quest for immortality in the epic, initially seen as a quest to avoid death, ultimately transforms into a reflection on how one can transcend the confines of time through the impact they have on others. Gilgamesh's journey mirrors the human desire to leave a mark on the world that survives one's physical death. In his quest for immortality, Gilgamesh's encounters with the divine reveal not only the inherent limitations of humans, but also the nature of the gods themselves. The gods in the Epic of Gilgamesh are portrayed as powerful but fallible beings whose actions often seem arbitrary or driven by their own desires. The gods in the epic are not omnipotent or entirely just. They create and destroy according to their whims without regard to human desires or justice. While the gods shape Gilgamesh's destiny, they do so without offering clear explanations or moral reasoning for their actions. The gods do not act according to any clear moral framework, which presents a profound challenge for Gilgamesh and other mortals. They are shown as being powerful and often capricious, offering humans little recourse against their actions. This sense of divine unpredictability emphasizes the fragility of human existence and the limited power humans have in shaping their own fates. The arbitrary nature of divine will in the Epic of Gilgamesh is exemplified by the gods' decision to punish Gilgamesh and Enkidu after their victory over the Bull of Heaven and Humbaba. While the gods had created Enkidu to humble Gilgamesh and balance his power, they also take Enkidu's life as punishment for defying their will, demonstrating that even heroic actions are subject to divine retribution. The gods' intervention serves as a stark reminder that mortals cannot escape the inevitable forces of fate or divine will, which shape human lives in ways that often seem beyond understanding or control. Yet, despite their power, the gods in the Epic of Gilgamesh are not omnipotent, and their actions demonstrate that even they are subject to limitations. In this sense, the gods are portrayed as beings that are both superior to humans, but also deeply flawed. Through Gilgamesh's journey, the epic reveals the tension between human ambition and divine will, showing that no matter how much one strives to control their fate, they are ultimately at the mercy of forces beyond their comprehension. This tension between divine power and human desire for control is a central theme in the epic and speaks to the limits of human agency in the face of greater forces. While the gods may offer the promise of immortality, as they do to Utnapishtim, they ultimately restrict it from mortals, forcing Gilgamesh to confront the finality of his own mortality. The theme of fate is also explored in the tragic death of Enkidu. His death is not just the loss of a friend, but the physical manifestation of the harsh truth that nothing in life is permanent. Gilgamesh's grief is profound because it marks the first time he faces his own vulnerability and the fragility of human life. Enkidu's death represents the inevitable decay of all things, no matter how strong, noble, or heroic they might seem. It forces Gilgamesh to confront the core existential dilemma that all humans face: how to live meaningfully in a world where death is inevitable. This confrontation with death is the primary catalyst for Gilgamesh's quest for immortality. The loss of his companion pushes him to seek answers, and it is only through this search that Gilgamesh comes to understand that immortality is not an external gift to be achieved through physical endurance, but rather something that is attained through one's actions and impact on others. This realization culminates in his acceptance of death, as he learns that immortality cannot be achieved by defying the inevitable, but by accepting it and living in a way that leaves a meaningful legacy. The concept of legacy is one of the most important lessons of the epic. Through his journey, Gilgamesh learns that immortality lies not in escaping death, but in the enduring legacy one leaves behind. His construction of the walls of Uruk, which stand long after he is gone, symbolizes his realization that true immortality is not about eternal life, but about the lasting impact one has on the world. Gilgamesh's reflection on his city's walls demonstrates his acknowledgement that his physical body may perish, but the work he has done, the cities he has built, the lives he has touched, will remain as his enduring legacy. This legacy transcends the physical realm, making Gilgamesh's story a meditation on how humans can live meaningful lives that leave an enduring impact, even in the face of death. The walls of Uruk become a symbol of Gilgamesh's contributions to civilization, marking a turning point in his understanding of immortality. The creation of something lasting, something tangible, gives Gilgamesh a sense of purpose and fulfillment that he had not experienced before.
This understanding of legacy is not just about leaving physical structures behind, but about the deeper meaning that human actions can have. The Epic of Gilgamesh teaches that the true immortality lies in the love, deeds, and relationships one fosters in life. The theme of friendship is one of the most significant elements of the epic, as it is through his bond with Enkidu that Gilgamesh undergoes his personal transformation. Enkidu is the first to show Gilgamesh that true greatness lies in emotional and moral strength, not just physical prowess. Their relationship teaches Gilgamesh that strength is found in mutual respect, sacrifice, and loyalty, and it is through these bonds that one's life takes on meaning. The bond between Gilgamesh and Enkidu exemplifies the powerful human connection that drives the narrative. Through their shared experiences, Gilgamesh learns to value emotional bonds over the pursuit of glory and power. Enkidu's death serves as a profound reminder of the fragility of life, and it is through this loss that Gilgamesh's transformation is fully realized. The grief he feels after losing Enkidu is the catalyst that leads him on his quest for immortality, but it is also through this grief that he learns to appreciate life in all its impermanence. Gilgamesh's quest ultimately becomes a search for understanding and acceptance, not just of mortality, but of the human condition itself. The Epic of Gilgamesh continues to be relevant today, resonating with modern readers because of its exploration of universal themes. Its message that immortality lies not in the physical escape from death, but in the impact one has on others, speaks to the core of human experience. In today's world, where many still search for meaning and significance in their lives, Gilgamesh's journey provides an important lesson: that the pursuit of immortality is not about conquering death, but about living a life that leaves a lasting legacy. Through Gilgamesh's journey, readers are reminded that while death is inevitable, the relationships we form, the love we give, and the work we do can transcend time and provide a form of immortality that endures long after we are gone. The Epic of Gilgamesh is not just an ancient story, it is a timeless narrative that continues to speak to the universal human experience. Through Gilgamesh's struggles, the epic offers profound insights into the nature of life, death, and the legacy we leave behind, making it one of the most enduring and influential works in world literature.
The journey of Gilgamesh in his search for immortality is both literal and symbolic. As he ventures to find Utnapishtim, he travels through various trials and encounters that mirrored his internal struggles. Along the way, he meets figures who test his resolve and challenge his beliefs, but each encounter deepens his understanding of life, death, and human limitations. His meeting with the scorpion men who guard the mountain pass symbolizes the boundary between the mortal world and the divine realm. This encounter with the supernatural world highlights the boundary that separates human beings from immortality, something that is both desired and unattainable. These supernatural tests are not just physical but psychological, forcing Gilgamesh to confront his deepest fears and vulnerabilities. The crossing of these symbolic thresholds, like facing the dark, mysterious passage leading to Utnapishtim, parallels the journey one must take when facing personal growth and transformation. The epic, in this sense, is not just about the physical trials, but the psychological and emotional hurdles that Gilgamesh must overcome. Each step he takes in his quest is a step toward understanding that immortality cannot be won through sheer force or defiance, but through wisdom and acceptance of mortality. In this way, the story aligns with many coming-of-age narratives, where the protagonist embarks on a quest not only for external rewards, but for internal transformation. The ultimate discovery that immortality is reserved for the gods and cannot be obtained by mortals serves as a critical realization for Gilgamesh. It is through this realization that he begins to let go of his fear of death and his obsession with preserving his name and legacy. By accepting the limits of his mortality, Gilgamesh comes to understand that it is the quality of life, not the length of it, that gives life meaning. His return to Uruk following his failure to gain immortality marks the point of acceptance. Upon returning to Uruk, Gilgamesh stands before the city's great walls, his most lasting creation, and realizes that the immortality he sought is embodied not in escaping death, but in the enduring work he has done for his people. This reflection reveals the epic's deeper philosophical message that the mark one leaves on the world through contributions to society, love, and meaningful connections is the true form of immortality. Gilgamesh's growth throughout the epic exemplifies the potential for human transformation. His journey begins with a selfish desire for personal immortality, but culminates in the realization that immortality is found in the enduring power of human connection and in the lasting legacies of our actions. His story becomes a profound meditation on how we confront our mortality, the fear of oblivion, and the desire to leave something meaningful behind. This quest for meaning remains deeply relevant today. In modern society, people still grapple with existential questions about the value of life, the inevitability of death, and how to leave a lasting impact. The Epic of Gilgamesh offers a timeless answer, one that does not focus on the fear of death, but on the way we live our lives and how our actions resonate with others. The ultimate lesson Gilgamesh learns is that it is through our relationships with others and the good we do in the world that we achieve a form of immortality that transcends the physical self. Another major theme in the epic is the concept of divine justice and the role of the gods in human life. The gods in the Epic of Gilgamesh are powerful but unpredictable figures who often act based on their whims rather than a sense of justice. Their intervention in the lives of Gilgamesh and Enkidu is both a blessing and a curse. While they create Enkidu to balance Gilgamesh's excessive pride, they also punish the heroes for their actions, sending the Bull of Heaven as retribution and eventually causing Enkidu's death. This capricious nature of the gods reflects the Mesopotamian view of divinity, where gods were seen as forces that shaped human destinies, but whose actions were often beyond human understanding. The gods' decision to allow Enkidu's death highlights the theme of fate and the inherent powerlessness of humans in the face of divine will. Even Gilgamesh, with all his strength and wisdom, cannot escape the gods' judgment, showing that no one is above divine intervention. In this sense, the gods in the Epic of Gilgamesh are not all-knowing or morally perfect, but rather they represent the forces of nature and fate that humans must navigate. This tension between human agency and divine power resonates with modern existential thought, where individuals struggle to find meaning and purpose in a world that often seems indifferent to their desires. While Gilgamesh initially seeks to escape death through personal power and immortality, the death of Enkidu and his subsequent quest for meaning reveal a deeper truth. The ultimate power lies not in controlling the gods or fate, but in accepting the limitations of human life and finding meaning within those limits. The arbitrary nature of divine intervention invites reflections on the randomness of existence. The gods do not always act according to any consistent moral code, leaving the characters to face the harsh realities of life and death without clear answers or divine justice. This reflects a central theme of the Epic of Gilgamesh, the uncertainty and unpredictability of life. While Gilgamesh's quest is a quest for meaning and immortality, it is also a quest for understanding the unpredictable nature of existence and finding peace with its uncertainties. In modern terms, this speaks to the human condition in which many seek meaning in an often arbitrary and capricious world. The flood narrative in the Epic of Gilgamesh also carries significant symbolism. The flood, sent by the gods to destroy humanity, represents the ultimate act of divine judgment. It serves as a reminder of the fragile nature of human existence and the power of divine forces to shape the course of history. Utnapishtim's survival of the flood and the immortality granted to him serves as a stark contrast to Gilgamesh's failure to attain immortality. The flood myth in the Epic of Gilgamesh has striking parallels with other ancient flood myths, including the biblical story of Noah. This thematic overlap suggests that the flood myth is a universal story, shared across cultures as a way of explaining divine judgment and the cycle of life and death. The flood represents both destruction and renewal, offering the possibility of new life after catastrophe. It serves as a metaphor for the cyclical nature of existence, where death and rebirth are intertwined, just as in Gilgamesh's journey, where loss and transformation lead to growth and understanding. The recurring theme of renewal through destruction in the Epic of Gilgamesh underscores the cyclical nature of existence, where death is not an end, but a transition to something new. The flood also reflects the divine will and the notion that humanity is subject to forces beyond their understanding. The gods may destroy, but they also provide the opportunity for renewal, just as Gilgamesh, after his quest for immortality, is reborn into a new understanding of life and death. The Epic of Gilgamesh ultimately presents a narrative that is both a heroic adventure and a deep philosophical meditation on life, death, and the search for meaning. It teaches that while immortality may be unattainable for mortals, there is still a profound purpose in life through relationships, deeds, and the impact one leaves behind. Gilgamesh's evolution from a selfish king to a wise and accepting ruler highlights the importance of living fully, embracing one's mortality, and leaving a lasting legacy that transcends death. In doing so, the epic becomes a timeless reflection on the nature of human existence, the desire to leave a mark on the world, and the need to accept and embrace mortality.
In conclusion, the Epic of Gilgamesh is not merely an ancient tale of a hero's quest for immortality, but a profound exploration of the human condition, one that speaks to universal concerns about life, death, legacy, and the meaning of existence. Gilgamesh's journey from a self-centered, tyrannical ruler to a wise and reflective king mirrors the human struggle to come to terms with mortality and find purpose in life despite its impermanence. Through his friendship with Enkidu, his quest for eternal life, and his eventual acceptance of death, Gilgamesh learns that immortality cannot be achieved by defying fate or escaping death. Instead, it is found in the relationships we build, the love we give, and the impact we have on the world. The walls of Uruk, which Gilgamesh gazes upon at the end of the epic, stand as a symbol of his lasting legacy, showing that even though one cannot escape death, the work we do during our lifetime can endure long after we are gone. The epic encourages us to recognize that true immortality lies not in seeking eternal physical life, but in leaving behind a meaningful legacy through our actions, relationships, and contributions to the world. The gods in the story, though powerful, are unpredictable and capricious, highlighting the tension between human ambition and divine will. Their interventions show that, despite our efforts, we are ultimately at the mercy of forces beyond our control. The divine actions and the eventual death of Enkidu serve as reminders that even the greatest heroes cannot escape the inevitable laws of nature and fate. In the end, the epic offers a timeless message about the importance of accepting mortality and the role that love, friendship, and meaningful actions play in defining the legacy of a person's life. By embracing our limitations and accepting that immortality is not a physical reality, but a spiritual one, we can live lives that leave behind an enduring impact. The Epic of Gilgamesh remains a timeless reflection on the human experience, offering valuable insights that transcend time and culture. Its themes continue to resonate today as we grapple with the same existential questions that Gilgamesh faced. What does it mean to live a meaningful life? How can we overcome the fear of death? How do we leave a legacy that endures beyond our time? These questions, explored in the Epic of Gilgamesh, remain as relevant today as they were in ancient Mesopotamia, making it one of the most enduring and influential works of literature in human history. The epic's exploration of friendship, loss, immortality, and legacy offers a universal message. that while death may be inevitable, the legacy we leave through our deeds, relationships, and the love we give has the power to transcend time and ensure that our lives continue to have meaning long after we are gone.